After this KVK against 1093, I messaged 960 leadership, specifically Mamer. I'm like, hey, yo, would you guys want to go on the Zero podcast to talk about the KVK? And they were like, let's save the podcast for after the KVK. We have news. It's not good. I'm like, all right, well, that's not good. I wonder who's retiring. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and show this Cwill, in case you guys didn't see the message. Hi everyone, it is not easy to say this, but the time has come. This KVK is my last dance, and with it, my journey with 960 has come to an end. I started playing Rise of Kingdoms in October 2018, earlier than most of you. Back then, my wife and I had just been together for 3 years, but now we're celebrating our 10th anniversary with our second child arriving next year. People shift their focus as they grow. Zake and Alano have been busy with their new jobs. Mamer, Galv, and Pika will soon graduate and step into a new chapter of life. Landlord Chen has health issues and won't be able to serve anymore. And there are too many good officers that have already quit. I cannot list them all. In fact, 90% of them don't even have an account, but they are still willing to help for many KVKs without asking anything in return. So please be grateful for their past efforts. They did so much not because of the game itself, but because of love, the bonds, and the friendship. You know, that's definitely something in 960 that's I've seen, is that a lot of the leadership in 1960, they literally don't even play Rise of Kingdoms anymore. They just log in for KVK to war lead or to build flags on their farm accounts, or at least from my time in 960, since I've been here for the 3 KVKs, even our main war lead Alano, this guy has like a siege account with a 50 million power siege account where he has arrow towers. And that's pretty much it. So, I mean, yeah, the 1960 leadership for quite some time, it has just been kind of just playing because of the love of the game, of, you know, keeping the 1960 legacy alive. So maybe that was a little bit of writing on the wall there. Now, if most of our core leadership can no longer commit, we simply can't sustain the same level anymore. Rise of Kingdoms has been a part of our lives for too long enough to finally let go and move on. I'm sorry to say this, but our management team will disband. So, I actually messaged, you know, I was talking to Mamer about this. That's like the first person that kind of gave me an inkling of what's going on with his, oh yeah, let's save the podcast for 2 weeks from now until the KVK is over, because there's going to be bad news coming out. So I actually messaged Mamer. I'm like, hey, so like who exactly is migrating, or who exactly is retiring? Cwill, we know for sure is retiring because this is his message. But it's going to be all of the R4s and R5s of 1960. So it's pretty much everyone that was doing something, or most of the people that were doing something in 1960, they're retiring. So I think the names I could say is Pika, Mamer, Cwill, Alano, and there's definitely a lot more. I just don't want to say, those are the names I know for sure. I just don't want to say other names that might not necessarily be retiring, but taking, I actually, Cwill's not even retiring. I think he's going to a lower seed, but he's leaving 960. So yeah, there's I mean, it's kind of hard to fathom or talk about 1960 and without talking about those guys, at least in my time here, because, you know, there's just been, when it comes to leading such a big, not even a big, like a high tier Imperium Kingdom, there's just so much work that goes into it. And the R4 team, R5 team, they've been doing it for so long, and now they're retiring. So every Hell KVK we have endured cost us more than just troops. We lost friends, teammates, and leaders along the way. Most of the friends I once fought alongside already quit. I miss Kendrick pushing 3-day fights by himself. I miss Leopard snoring on Discord when he was too exhausted to turn off mic. I miss all the good days that when we stayed all night tanking for each other no matter win or loss. Yet, Rise of Kingdoms does not give me that same feeling anymore. With battle reports viewable on trading ratio, half the players on Discord are pilots and only care about trades. Now you just cannot find that unspoken bond and trust any longer. I think this is, you know, quite the controversial statement. I think a lot of my comments from my last couple of videos talking about the last KVK against 1093 was, oh, pilots won the KVK, pilots this, pilots that. I think this statement also talks and shows the insight behind being in leadership when there are a lot of pilots. Like, I know there was like a lot of times in this KVK where we were not coordinated and organized. And a lot of it came down to pilots that were in it for the KP, or I don't know exactly the situation, but pilots are just a big thing in every big kingdom, and it's unfortunate. And I think it's draining for leadership, especially because now you have a bunch of players that aren't really dedicated to the kingdom, and then they're just playing for trades, as Cwill said. So, and I will say, like, early game Rise of Kingdoms, I started playing in 2019, so not as late as Cwill, but there's nothing like the reason why I don't really, pilot on my account myself is because the whole point of Rise of Kingdoms for me is like playing on your account is, when you play on your account, this is like something that you work towards, the off season, the commanders you invested in, the resources you've gathered. You know what I mean? It's like you built towards that situation to be in a KVK, to be in a situation where you're fighting alongside everyone else who also put in the same effort. Now it's kind of like that's not the case anymore. So the moment I'm proud was our first loss against 1093. When many had every reason to walk away, some of us chose to stay. We stood together, rebuilt together, and believed in each other. Then we helped 60 GT rise again. We came back stronger than ever, and in 2025 we fought two of the most epic KVKs in Rise of Kingdoms history. So yeah, I believe 960 has only had one loss. I mean, that's what it says here, 18-1, and that one loss was against 1093, 2605 in that crazy weird KVK. And a lot of people did quit. Leopard quit after that KVK, and I remember during that time that was like, oh, 1960 is done, 1960 is, disbanding. And then Cwill and all the leadership to that stayed was like, all right, we're gonna run it back. This is a salty way to lose. I guess this win against 1093, the revenge win, you could say, even though we talked about this before. The three matchups that 960 and 1093 had, the first matchup I feel like was very favored towards 1093. They had like, what, 4 alliances. They had 2605 fighting 1960 in the earlier zones, so it was kind of doomed for 960 after that Diplo. And then the second matchup was with 2489. It was 89 GT, I believe was what people were calling it, because it's 2489 and 1960, which in my opinion at the time were like arguably the second and third strongest kingdoms in the same camp against 1093. And that's just super tough for 1093. That's the KVK where they like change the flags midway through the KVK so you can't fill with farm accounts or something. I don't know what exactly happened, but that KVK was kind of cooked for 1093, even though they were the strongest kingdom in the game. They're fighting against second and third in the same camp. This KVK was kind of, I feel like, the most even matchup between the two kingdoms, where 1093, they're still very strong. They have 2 alliances. They still have numbers. They also have a campmate. And then 1960, we're just this one alliance kingdom. And you saw from the fights, it was a stalemate for quite some time. And within the first day, second day, 1093 had the upper hand. They're able to burn us back. But then the third and fourth day, we were able to turn it back on again and kind of bring them back. We have a whole video to recap that KVK and what happened, but I feel like from what I've talked to Cwill, what I've talked to 960 leadership, this retirement or this disbandment of 1960 isn't the same situation from their first loss against 1093, where it's like, oh, we lost the game, now we're done. This retirement is, we've finished the game. We've completed everything we wanted to complete. 1093, that first win with 2489 probably didn't feel as good, but now that we finally beat 1093 in a straight head-to-head, the question that I kept getting asked after the 2377 KVK is what's next? 1093 KVK is what's next? And I guess after 1093 in this matchup, they're like, I think we've completed the game. So to all the new members who joined recently, I'm sorry we didn't get to fight more battles together. I wish we had more time. By now, we fought against or alongside almost every Imperium in the game. For me, there's no regrets left, nothing left to improve. Exactly what we were talking about earlier. Every dynasty has an end, every story has a final chapter, and this, for me, is the perfect one. People always debate which kingdom is the GOAT. Honestly, I don't care what they say, because to me, I can't spell GOAT without GT. Oh, that's clever wordplay. Its resilience, It's courage. It's refusing to give up when everything is against you. Thank you for everything, for the journey, for the memories, and for standing by each other. Your oldest GT member, Cwill. It's tough being in leadership for so long. Like, I was in pseudo leadership in 2268, and the amount of drama, the amount of, like, you know, activities, it's like working in HR for free. It's a second job working in HR, and you might even put more hours than you put in your real job. So, I mean, shout out to Cwill, shout out to the whole leadership team for staying around and, you know, doing their thing. Keeping 960 afloat and making a fun kingdom to play in. And, you know, as a fan of the game, it was a great kingdom to watch when I watched them, and it's a great KD to play in when I played it in it for the 3 KVKs. I think it's like it's like a pyramid or something, right? Or it's like once one person wants to retire, all the other players are like, hey, why are we still playing this game? It's been a while since, you know, especially after this win against 1093, there's probably a couple of players that, as Cwill said, a lot of people are like graduating into going out into the workforce. A lot of Cwill's having a second child. So with everyone, you know, looking forward to their next steps in life, they're like, all right, it's time for us to quit. Why no past leadership? That's why 960 is disbanding. The 960 that we know today is disbanding. The news just came out, so I don't know if there's going to be a group staying in 960. I don't know if there's like going to be anyone that's going to be trying to steer the ship, or if there's going to be a B seed or whatever, but at least from what I've been told, there isn't anything out yet with 1960, you know, staying alive, or anyone trying to keep 1960 around.